Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
So I haven't talked much about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness on this channel, and there's a good reason for that. Quite simply, I just don't give a shit about it. Based on what little I've actually seen of him, Doctor Strange is just a very boring and uninteresting character for me, at least in the MCU. Not just that, but it seems like this movie is going to lean heavily into the newest MCU trend, that being going full nostalgia bait.
Whoopie fucking do. Hey, I'm impressed.
A trend that doesn't really excite me and leaves me wanting more, and typically doesn't make for movies that have much in the way of rewatchability. Again, references, Easter eggs, and setting up future movies shouldn't take precedence over simply telling a good self-contained story. Something that MCU films in general have just been miserable at, especially lately. One thing about this movie, however, that catches my interest just a little bit is the involvement of one Sam Raimi.
Get the fuck out of here! No, I cannot, it's serious!
The man who is almost solely responsible for bringing us a top 3 comic book movie of all time with Spider-Man 2. You see, Sam Raimi understood what audiences liked about Spider-Man, and then when he was left alone to be creative, he found that balance between great storytelling and creating a blockbuster. He set the bar so high that many comic book movies try to live up to those expectations and usually fail miserably.
That makes sense.
Sam Raimi is a filmmaker. He's not a safe MCU-like director who's gonna fall in line and do everything that the Disney overlords want him to do. At least I don't think he's going to. In fact, if he was left alone to do his job, I would bet that he actually elevates the material in the MCU, taking it above and beyond the typical quality and formula that we are accustomed to. I also find it kind of interesting that a lot of the MCU fans who found enjoyment in bashing the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, all in an effort to make the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies look more palatable.
It's Hollywood, baby, who knows what's gonna happen?
But now that Sam Raimi has actually been hired in the MCU, all of a sudden everyone's excited about his work. Once again, the MCU effect strikes again, ladies and gentlemen. But moving past all that, Sam Raimi has recently begun to start promoting his new movie, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And he recently did an interview with Fandango where he was asked to give a lot of details about the movie that we know he's not going to be able to do.
You want answers? You can't handle the truth!
You know Disney and Marvel have some kind of gag order on him, and they're not going to allow him to reveal anything about this movie. So we're not going to get those juicy details that get the people on Twitter all hot and bothered. But he did reveal a few details about the process of preparing for this movie, and also what the future could hold as it pertains to his involvement in the superhero genre.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. And I want to have them answered immediately.
The interviewer started off by asking Sam Raimi how familiar he was with the new Marvel, that being the MCU. And his response was actually quite telling. He said, quote, "I had seen Iron Man, the first Avengers, Black Panther, and Doctor Strange, and clips of the other movies. They made 28 movies. I've only seen 4 or 5, so I'll say not that familiar." This is very interesting to me, and I know this is going to upset a lot of MCU fans because they are pretty sensitive about this stuff.
Why do you cry?
You have to understand, some people live and die by these movies. I can hear it now. How can Sam Raimi not have watched all 28 MCU movies? Now, it's possible that it's not anything personal. Maybe he was just busy working. Or maybe he just has a life outside of movies. Or maybe a majority of those movies just didn't look all that interesting to him. And that I can understand. Believe it or not, some people don't find these movies to be worthy of all of their attention. And let's be honest, in most cases, if you've seen one MCU film, you've pretty much seen them all.
Erroneous! Erroneous!
But I definitely don't think it's a prerequisite for him to have seen all 28 films before he makes one of his own. Especially if you have the cinematic genius of Sam Raimi and you want your film to stand out amongst the crowd. The interviewer eventually shifted focus away from Doctor Strange, and they asked the question, what are the chances that we see you two team back up again, meaning him and Tobey MaGuire, for more Spider-Man movies?
Anybody care about what I want?
I do.
Shut up. Get out.
Raimi responds, "I've come to realize after making Doctor Strange that anything is possible. Really anything in the Marvel Universe. Any team-ups. I love Tobey, I love Kirsten Dunst. I think all things are possible. I don't really have a story or plan. I don't know if Marvel would be interested in that right now. I don't know what their thoughts are about that. I haven't really pursued that, but it sounds beautiful. Even if it wasn't a Spider-Man movie, I'd love to work with Tobey again in a different role."
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Now, he could be playing it coy here, and maybe he has thought about making another Spider-Man movie. Or perhaps maybe his reintroduction into the genre by making Doctor Strange will inspire him to revisit his version of Spider-Man. All I know is that if Sony knew what was best for business, they would back a Brinks truck up to Sam Raimi's house and give him whatever he wants, including full creative control.
Show me the money.
And allow the master to give his story a proper conclusion that it rightfully deserves. Raimi himself, as well as his characters, deserve some type of closure. And not to mention you owe him pretty big for how you dicked him over in Spider-Man 3. And if you do what's right and give Sam Raimi and the fans what we want, not even the Disney shills will be strong enough to disregard what he makes, and I guarantee that. We have to get back to allowing filmmakers to make films, to be creative. And when that happens, they can turn superhero movies into the event that they once were. Similar to how Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movie made an impact all those years ago when it was released.
Man, I'm tired of being right.
So let me know what you thought about all this in the comments down below. As always, please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell for notifications, and I'll see you next time right here on Real Shift. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Y'all be cool. Right on.